Great day, everyone. Are tuning into the Voices of a Black Man. My name is CK James, and I am super excited to be here with you today. I have the opportunity to have a conversation with none other than Mr. Terrance Leftridge. Now, the Voices of a Black Man is a project series that was put together to be able to help Black men have a platform to tell their stories. Dispelling the societal myths that Black men are number one, silent, which equals absent, and number two, angry, which equals aggressive, because these are two boxes that they're usually put in. I know it to be true, I know a lot of people to know that to be true, that there are a lot of Black men that don't fit in these boxes, that are doing a lot of wonderful, great things. And I wanted them to have the chance to tell their story through their lens, as opposed through the narrative and the lens of someone who's not a Black man and may not understand everything that's happening or why a Black man may be acting the way they are. The other thing is that Black men are just like every other man. They have different backgrounds, different experiences, different areas of expertise. And more importantly, they're human. They themselves are just people like everyone else. So I look forward to bringing Terrance on. I know that, oh, there you go. I was going to say, keep in mind that this is a live show. And with the different storms and the different weather patterns and everything that's happening, anything can happen. Now, if you are watching this live via our Zoom, I want you to know that the chat function is disabled. And it's disabled for a reason, because this is a platform for Terrance to tell his story without comments, without likes, without dislikes. This is a place to listen, learn, and hopefully be able to kind of look at yourself, figure out if there's any biases in anything, and then take action. So Terrance, I'm so happy to have you with us today. How are you?
I am fabulous. It's an unstoppable day, Sherelle, and thank you so much, not only for providing this platform, but asking me to be a part of this great experience that we're going to have today on the Voices of Black Men. It's truly a story platform that is needed now more than ever, and I thank you as a positive Black woman for providing that platform for us real Black men to share our story.
Absolutely, absolutely. I am honored to have you on, and honored to be able to present this series. I want to just talk. Why did you feel that it was important for you to come on and be a speaker today?
I think it was important for me to come on because my story is not uncommon, but it's not a story that is one that you would expect to hear in this type of platform. Yes, I am a Black man. There's no disputing it. You can see it. It's literally written all over my face. But I haven't had what people would consider a tragic life. I haven't had what people might consider a disastrous life. I haven't had moments in my life that you are currently seeing on the evening news. But my story, Sherelle, is a common story. It's a story of living an average life. It's a story of existing when we were all created to really live fully. It's a story of learning that I wasn't meant to fit in. I was created to stand out. And what has stifled many a Black man's voice is the need or the fear, as another way of putting it, of retribution if we actually lived up to our creative goal, which was to stand out, but instead we've decided to settle and just fit in. And that's where we are today.
Wow. Wow. So let's just go to the beginning. Let's just go right to the beginning. You talked about not having the stereotypical life. So
Yes.
where did you grow up? How'd you grow up? Who was involved in your life?
Well, depending on who's listening and who's watching this live or who's going to be watching this in the replay, Sherelle, I grew up in the greatest city that I feel ever was created, the city of Chicago, the Windy City. But over the last couple of years, it has been portrayed as the middle of the Wild Wild West, a place that nobody wants to be, especially if you're a Black man. And I want to dispel that rumor. Right now, as we sit here, I'm basking in the joy and the wonderful rainy weather of South Florida. But this time of year in Chicago, it's a beautiful place because it's summertime in the city, and it's warm and it's sunny. And if you go to the right spots in the city of Chicago, it's like no place on earth. But Sherelle, unfortunately, those places are the ones that are rarely seen these days in Chicago. I grew up on the south side of Chicago to a single mom who had 4 kids, and I was the baby of the bunch. And all throughout my life, I had people in my lives that had high expectations for me, Sherelle. I remember my aunt used to say that I was going to be the next Thurgood Marshall. And for those who don't know your history, he was one of the Supreme Court justices in the highest court of the land. My grandmother, she would always call me Duke because she loved to watch old John Wayne movies, and he was the biggest, baddest man on screen at the time. And so I had that other expectation. And there was other expectations that was placed upon my life as I grew up that I was destined to live into. But unfortunately, life has a way of not allowing you to live up to your expectations. Some of those things are put on you by life, but many times, Sherelle, they're placed upon you by yourself. And that's what I did. I placed upon myself these limiting beliefs that didn't allow me to live fully at that time. See, I was more worried about existing than I was about living. And somebody's going to get that in a second or two. See, in my neighborhood, when I was growing up, my friends, they were more concerned about if they would live to see 16 than they were about if they were going to live to be a great lawyer or a Supreme Court justice or even a great actor in Hollywood. Yeah, we were concerned about just being able to exist from one day to the next, not what our life was going to look like 10 or 20 years. And when you go through doing that from day to day to day, it becomes a way of life. They say if you do anything for 21 days or longer, it becomes a habit. And I got in the habit of existing instead of living. And that took me on a whole different path that if we don't break out of that path, and I'm talking about this generation, and I'm talking about people in my generation now, even if we don't break that path of living to exist as opposed to existing to live, then we're going to continue to have the need for platforms like this because we're going to continue to live in a world, in a state that is not united, even though it's called the United States.
So let's just talk about that because, I have some theories on surviving, existing, and living,
Okay.
and based on experience that people have had, life itself beating you down, right?
Right.
To a point that you're just like, I give up. I give up. But you're right that some people don't get to that point later in life of where I give up because life has beat them down. Sometimes where you're raised and where you're born and what you see from day in and day out is beating you down before you even get a chance to really even
Absolutely. Absolutely. Where you live, sometimes by the time you walk out your door to the time you get to the end of your block, you could see 2 people shot, you could see somebody run over, you could see 3 drug deals taking place, and that's before you get to the end of your block. But that's not the American dream that has been fed to us. That's not what you read about in the history books. That's not what you see on TV. On TV says that if you walk out your house and you go to school and you get a good education and you graduate from college, you're going to be rewarded with this good job, and 10, 20, 30, 40 years later, you get the proverbial gold watch. And during those 40 years, you get to live the American dream of getting married and having your own house and 2.5 kids and a dog. Well, in my neighborhood, that wasn't the reality. And I had to move out of my neighborhood. You know, I had to move in order to change my situation. I had to change my destination, which ultimately required me to change my location. And that's a message that every Black man needs to hear. Your situation may not have been of any doing of your own, but you still have a choice. You still have the opportunity to change the situation. You know, there's an adage in the greatest book ever written that says, Lord, give me the ability to accept the things that I cannot change, but to change the things I cannot accept. And that's a mindset. When you decide that you're sick and tired of being sick and tired of accepting what your situation is, that's when you'll take a step to change your situation. And many times, in order to change your situation, it requires you to change your location, and it requires you to think about a new destination. And that's when your voice becomes powerful.
So for you, you know, you grew up in Chicago. Did you graduate high school in Chicago?
Graduated high school in Chicago and went away to college. Had these dreams, Sherelle. You know, I played in the band in high school. You know, we had this marching band. I went to an all boys high school, predominantly Black, and our band leader, he used to go to Grambling University. And I was like, man, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to graduate. I'm going to go to Grambling. I'm going to go to an all Black college. I had the Black experience, go hang out with Spike Lee. And then it came time to do the application, and my mama said, you got this amount of money, you got this many applications, choose wisely. And so the application ended up not being Grambling, it ended up being University of Illinois. So instead of going to the all Black school, I went to the predominantly white school, which was only a couple hours away. But like I said, in order to change my situation, sometimes it requires you to change your location. And the location doesn't necessarily be the one that you think in your mind it's supposed to be. That gave me a whole new perspective on life when I just made that one change in location. It helped me find out who I was versus who people thought I was going to be. It helped me learn how to make my own decisions as opposed to having people making decisions for me. And it helped me forge my own path, which I didn't know what it was before I left my situation by leaving my location.
So you mentioned, I imagine that you grew up predominantly in a predominantly Black area on the south side of Chicago.
No, Sherelle, it wasn't predominantly Black. It was all Black. Let's just keep it real.
Okay, fair. Keep me honest. Please, okay. Terrance, keep me honest. All right. So you grew up in a pretty much all Black area. And here it is that you go to University of Illinois. That's a predominantly white school.
Yes.
What was that like, being on campus for the first time? Just some of the things that you remember as you've gone along and then graduated.
Well, the first thing I remember is because I was raised in an all Black neighborhood, seeing Black people all the time was just the norm. Seeing a white person was, there was pause for concern if you saw that, other than the teachers that taught in the schools that I went to. So when I got down to Champaign, Illinois, yeah, that's the name of the town, Champaign, I was spelling it like the Asti Spumante champagne, and it ain't spelled that way at all. So that was my first new lesson in life. But then I was in the middle of cornfields. Only place I had seen corn was in the grocery store in the cans next to the peas. Yeah. So to see that growing live was a whole new experience. But here's the one thing that really caught my attention. At that time, there was 26,000 students on the U of I campus, and only 3% of the students were African-American, Black. So when we saw another Black person, we high-fived, jumping up, giving them the soul clap, because we didn't know when the next time it would be that we would see another Black person. Complete 180 from what I was used to. So I had to adapt to my new situation. And as Black men, we're always adapting. It seems like it's forced upon us. It's not something that we choose to do. It's something that we have to do, because we're always put in situations that for the most part are new to us for the first time, or change from what it was the last time we experienced it. So that was my new situation. I had to adapt. You know, I had to embrace the few people of my kind that was there, but then I also had to learn how to step outside of my comfort zone. You know, I had to learn how to communicate with people that I didn't normally communicate with. I had to learn how to see them outside of the stereotypes or outside of what had been inbred in me by other people because of their experiences with other people, you know? But it was good because I learned that the world was not black and white. It was actually black, white, yellow, brown, and a little bit of everything depending on who you ran into. And that was an eye-opening experience. You know, they say, Sherelle, that you can't be what you've never seen. And there were a lot of things that I'd never seen. And so when I got to school, the choices of what I wanted to be was limited. But once I embraced my new location and the opportunities to take me to new destinations, I recognized that my options weren't limited. They were actually limitless. It all depended on what I decided to do with that new information I had received.
Wow. Wow. So you learned some new skills
Yes.
while you were there at
Yes.
University of Illinois, skills, life skills, not just education, but life skills.
Right.
What did you
Yes.
major in?
Well, when I started, I majored in finance. Now ask me what I ended up with.
What did you end up with?
I was still in business. It was this great title that I thought was just going to lead to loads and loads of money called organizational behavior, the study of organizations. I was going to go out and I was going to look at all these Fortune 500 companies and I was going to study them and I was going to change their life. Now ask me what I ended up doing.
All right. What did you end up doing?
So I worked in insurance for 3 years with 2 different companies. Got fired from one of them. Then I worked in geriatrics and did that for 8 weeks. Hated it. Then I worked in social services, and I worked in social services for 20 years. Now, all of those things I just said are so far away from organizational behavior and what I got my degree in that I can't even tell you. Half the time when people ask me what I got a degree in, it takes me a minute to remember because I haven't really used it at all. And that's a message for not only the voices of Black men, that's a message for everybody. Yeah. What you start out with is not necessarily what you're going to finish doing. What you plan as your bread and butter may not be the thing that butters your bread. And that's important for people to know. See, when I was there, again, I was still looking at what other people perceived as the best paying job with the best degree, and that's what I looked at. But I never looked inside to see what was best for me. Wow. And a lot of Black men were conditioned to be bred to be the provider eventually of our families. So we've got to get the best job. We've got to go to some place that's going to be a provider and it's going to pay the bills. Not something that may be your passion, that may take years and years to plant the seed, water the seed, cultivate the seed until it turns into what you were ultimately created to be.
Wow. So when you talk about passion, you were in social work for 20 years.
Yes.
What kept you there in social work?
Well, Sherelle, in each one of those jobs, I'm glad to say that there was an aspect of what I feel is my passion. And my passion is for helping people. You know, when I was working insurance, I was helping people be made whole after an accident. Then I went into workers' compensation as a self-employed insurer. So I was helping people get back to work. But in those 2 jobs, I felt even though my ideal was helping people, their ideal was saving the company money. So I felt like I turned into a collector instead of a helper. When I got into social services, I was like, okay, yeah, this is where I'm supposed to be because I'm helping people. I'm helping people exist and live and take care of their family and resolve some issues. And I'm putting people back together, broken homes, putting them back together. And that felt good. And so that's why I was there for so long. But even in that industry, while I was in it to help people, the people that I was helping weren't always in it to help themselves,
Mm-hmm.
or they were in it to not help themselves, but to get the hook up. And just like with anything, if you're not walking in your passion, or if you're not doing what you were called to do, you become jaded and you become silent. And then you become that person that is just existing as opposed to living. You know, I went from being excited each and every morning because I'm going in and I'm going to help somebody today, into that person that started being the proverbial ferret on the wheel, where I would get up, go to work, come home, go to sleep, get up the next day, go to work, come home, go to sleep. That proverbial wheel that was going nowhere, the wheel of dissatisfaction. I was dissatisfied with my life.
Mm.
And so I was just going through the motions. And you've heard this song, Sherelle. Well, if you're in my age group, I don't know. But there's this song back in the day that goes a little bit like this. Your body's here with me, but my mind is on the other side of town. That was me. I was in the office each and every day. My body was there, but my mind was elsewhere. My mind was like, what's next? What am I really supposed to be doing? You know, I can do this job with my eyes closed and one arm tied behind my back. And so my mind had the ability to wander as to, what am I really supposed to be doing? And what am I supposed to do next? And ultimately, Sherelle, after 20 years of being in that industry, I got fired again. And I was working for a good government job. Good government job. You heard me. The job that got me my house, the job that helped me pay for my wedding, the job that got me my dream car, all of that lost because it was no longer where I was supposed to be. And I settled into existing instead of living. And that's the worst place for any Black man to be, in a world where you just settle and exist, as opposed to living out your passion fully the way you were created to be.
Mm-hmm. So where was your mind, and where did your mind take you during that time?
You know what? My mind, believe it or not, was actually doing things like this, being able to share my voice, to being able to talk to people about what's possible, to be able to talk to people about the things that you were destined for, the greatness that you had inside of you, and the passion that was given to you even before you were a thought in your mom's eye. I always loved entertaining. You know, in grammar school, we did stage plays. And I remember we would go to this big auditorium in downtown Chicago, and I got the opportunity to play the mayor of Chicago at that time. And the mayor of Chicago at that time, his name was Harold Washington, proud Black man, went on to be one of the congressmen of the United States. And I got to play him. So, you know, I'm proud. And again, I told you earlier, you can't be what you haven't seen. And I had the opportunity early in life to see that possibility. And so when I saw that, it just gave me passion and gave me vigor that I couldn't really put into words. But as I got older, I understood what that was. That's passion, that's purpose. And that's what I love to do now. I love to help people find their passion, and I love to help people walk in their purpose. And I love doing that one-on-one with you. I love doing that on stages in front of hundreds and thousands of people. And I love doing it on my weekly shows that I have, one called Unstoppable Story Show, where we talk to ordinary people with unstoppable stories. And then the business side is where we talk small business with Terrance each and every week, where we help businesses move from being stuck into being unstoppable. So that's what I love. That's what I was thinking about as I was sitting at my good government job, not doing what I was supposed to do.
Okay, so I know that the word unstoppable is definitely your word, and it's a phrase that you've kind of coined, but your unstoppable means something totally different. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Absolutely. And first, for your audience who's watching live or who's watching replay, let's make it clear. I don't spell the word unstoppable the normal way, because I found out over the course of my life that there's nothing normal about me. And that's a good thing. So we spell the word unstoppable, capital UN, capital S-T-O-P, capital A-B-L-E. Now, why do we spell it that way, Sherelle? Well, here's the reason why. When you look at the regular word unstoppable, what pops out to you? It's that
Stop.
S-T-O-P,
Yeah.
that proverbial stop sign. And the media likes to portray the negative, and the stop sign is the negative. We focus more on what's stopping us. What's stopping us financially? What's stopping us mentally? What's stopping us in our family? What's stopping us in our relationships? And that keeps us stuck. That keeps us existing because we don't know where else to go. We don't know what else to do. But there are 4 powerful letters at the end of the word unstoppable. Let me spell them for you again. A-B-L-E. Able. And when you focus more on what you're able to do, well, I may not have this amount of money, but what the money I have, I'm able to feed a family. Or with the money I have, I'm able to put gas in my tank so I can go to work and be of service to somebody. Or I can fund some nonprofit organization that's doing the things that I want to do, but I can't do right now as of yet. When you focus on what you're able to do, you know what, I may be single, but I can work on myself right now so that when the person who's meant for me comes along, I'll be ready and not have an opportunity, but not be prepared for the opportunity. When you focus on what you're able to do, then that stop sign goes from this bright red down to this dim red. And it also eventually just becomes clear because you're no longer focusing on that thing that was stopping you. You're focusing more on what you're able to do. And when you focus more on what you're able to do than what's stopping you, that's what makes you unstoppable.
So Terrance, I have to admit, as I listen to you and I hear, and I totally 100% agree with you. I totally agree and love the way that you use unstoppable. But I have to admit, I sit here and I say, that's not something that just came up as he became an adult. And that's something that was deep inside of you that you did throughout your life over and over again as you came up upon obstacles. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. Because, I said earlier, what we are destined to do is planted inside of us even before we are in the figment of our parents' eyes. And so I didn't know that unstoppable was inside of me. You see, Sherelle, I had to have a defining moment. Now, y'all know what a defining moment is. It's when you get to that proverbial fork in the road and you got to choose whether to go left or right, but you're stuck in that place because you don't know what's on the left and you don't know what's on the right. But you're at that moment, and that moment requires you to make a decision. I was at that moment when I lost my good government job. And I remember having a conversation with God. No, sure, I'm just going to keep it real. I didn't have a conversation. Me and God, we had an argument in my backyard at 1:00 in the morning. I'm looking up at him. I am cursing him out. I'm calling him everything but a child of God. Mm-hmm. And I remember saying to God, you know what? I need you to give me something that's going to give me a complete 180 direction of my situation. And you know what he gave me, Sherelle?
What was that?
He gave me one word. And that word was unstoppable. Mm. He unlocked the door. He opened up the closet. He was no longer giving me coming attractions of a future event. He was telling me right then and there that you were created to not be stopped. And that's what I want for you. And because you are a child of mine and I am unstoppable, then by default, you are unstoppable. And that just changed my life from that moment.
So let me ask you this.
Yes.
Let me ask you this. I have to ask you this because I know that when you get those I call them divine revelations. People call them different things. I call them divine revelations. But not only do you get that revelation, but you start looking back in your life and seeing what that moment came to. That defining moment. But you see, wait a minute, but it wasn't just here. It was here, it was here, it was here. It just wasn't clear. What were some of those other defining moments that you kind of flash back to when you got that word unstoppable?
You know what? When I flash back, just thinking about the job that I was at, that good government job, I was there for
Yeah.
10 years. But when that good government job came along 10 years prior, I had taken another job because that good government job was taking so long to get back in contact with me. So I thought it wasn't for me. I had gone on about my business, started working someplace else, and then it came through. So that's one thing. I think about the tragic, almost tragic car accident that I had in my very first car, a two-door Ford Granada. So if you know what a Ford Granada is, you kind of know how old I am. And I got rear-ended, and I had 4 other people in the car, and we all were able to walk away from that unstoppable. Did I tell you that the color of the car was bright candy apple red? Somebody's going to get that when we come back to it. I just think about times and times and times over my life where I could have just been taken out just like that, but I was still here. And that's a message for somebody. If you look back over your life and all the things you've been through and all the situations you've been in, but for the grace of God, you could have found yourself on the other side, underground, looking up as opposed to above ground with your head down. You will find that there's been many defining moments in your life that he has kept you so that you can continue to be the unstoppable person that you were created to be. When I look back at all the history of Black men, all the things that we went through, you know, when I was born, 2 years after I was born in the city of Chicago, there was the great riots in the city of Chicago. I could have been gone just like that because I was a Black man, even though I was 2 years old, but he kept me for that. When you look at the Rodney Kings, when you look at all the other people in between Rodney King, and then now when you come to where we are right now with George Floyd at the time of this program that we're doing right now, there are so many times where it could have been me. You could have just put my name where his name is. You know, I've been stopped before. I've been profiled before. I've been followed around department stores or grocery stores trying to see what's going to happen. I've been guilty by association because I may know some people that aren't upstanding individuals, but hey, they were in my hoods. I grew up with them. I knew them. So I'm not going to deny that I know you, even though your path was different than mine. But being a part of that association could have been the difference between me talking to you right now or you just hearing about me through somebody else. So yeah, there was a lot of moments that I look back that could have been just as defining as that one moment. But here's the one thing I know, Sherelle, even though he gives us that when we're born, he hides it from us for a reason. Number one, because if he tells you right at the beginning, right at birth, that this was what you were birthed to do, you wouldn't be able to handle it. You wouldn't know what you needed to know that you needed to know in order to do what he created you to do. So what does he do? He gives you rain in the form of disappointments and failures and things that, because you have to go through it, you grow through it. And then what does he do? He gives you some sunshine so that when you have those successes at life, that they stand out versus just the ordinary day, so that when you look back, when another failure comes your way, because as sure as you continue to live, you're going to continue to go through some things that you're going to have to grow through. But the way you're able to grow is because now you have the memory of the successes that you had back in your life, as well as those things that you might have failed back in your life, to push you forward. And just like any flower that grows over time, just like any tree that grows over time, you've got to have the sunshine and you've got to have the rain. Both of them equally do a job in order to help you turn into the person you were created to be.
Wow. So let me ask you this. That's powerful, Terrance. That's very powerful. You told us that you grew up in, and we're not sugarcoating it, all Black neighborhood. And I'm wondering for you, the question that I usually ask is, when did you realize that you were Black? And I know that that sounds like a crazy question when you're saying I grew up in an all Black neighborhood, But for you, when was that time that you really recognized, I'm not just a man, I'm not just a young boy or a young man, I'm a Black man, and that means something differently? And what did that mean?
I think the first time I got pulled over, I recognized that, yeah, I was truly different. I was in my young 20s, and I was in this suburb of Chicago called West Chicago. Why they call it West Chicago, other than the fact that it was a Western suburb, I don't know. But it was like being in a different world, because just like when I went to U of I and I recognized that there were other people besides people with my color and my kin, I recognized real quick that I was in a place that if you weren't supposed to be there, then the assumption is that you weren't supposed to be there. And when I got pulled over, it was an aggressive pullover. It was an aggressive looking police officer, even though he turned out not to be. But it was just that encounter. Roll your window down. Give me your ID. Don't ask me anything. I'm asking the questions here, son. And I was like, okay, so these are all the things that I've read about. These are all the things that I heard about. These were all the things that I had been sheltered from because my path hadn't had me have those encounters. So I'm still thinking, that's not going to happen to me. That's not ever going to be my story. But once you have that story, once you have that instance, you will never forget it. And then you become trained to look for it. There was a story that was going across social media over the last couple of weeks where a young man was playing basketball in his backyard, and he saw a cruiser come down the street, and he automatically stopped playing basketball and he went and hid behind his father's car. And his father was looking out the window and he saw that and he decided to record it because this was a defining moment in his son's life. You see, his son, only 11 years old, what he has seen is what I didn't see until I was 21. I didn't have that perception of the police were my enemy because it had never happened to me. But all he sees these days are that perception that the police are the enemy. And if they're coming down your block, if they're coming for you and you need to run and hide, no questions asked. And that is a sad state for us to be in, but that is the state as a Black man, as a Black boy, that we find ourselves in. And that's what I remember every time I see that story of another Black man being pulled over or another Black man being profiled. I go back to my first instance of when that happened to me. And I feel like we might have had that live instance that we're talking about where we may have lost our host for a second or two. So if you guys are watching this live on Facebook, please make sure you're putting your comments in the feed. Talk about your experience. When was the first time, if you're a Black man watching this show right now, talk about the first instance where you fully recognized without a doubt that you were a Black man, where it became crystal clear to you. I'm sure Sherelle would love you to share that experience so that she can continue to talk about this in not only this show, but future shows as she comes back to the screen. Hey, Sherelle.
Hey, thank you for taking over. We were worried about your internet, and here my internet just said, okay, I'm done. I'm tired.
You know what? And so let me tell you, I say this all the time on my show. Again, my show is called Unstoppable Story Show. And Sherelle, each and every week, the universe makes me live up to the name of that show. Each and every week, something happens that could stop me from broadcasting my show. But the name of the show is Unstoppable. We will not be stopped. We may have to find another way to do it, but you will definitely not stop us. So I'm used to this happening. And I told you ahead of time, I thought it was going to happen to me. But the fact that it happened to you, we're both in this together and we just keep it rolling.
Absolutely. And at the end of the day, the Voices of a Black Man is a platform for you. So I am no more upset than anybody else because you were able to use the platform and to continue to move on. So it just shows the depth and the breadth, that you have, not just as a Black man, but just as a man, as a human, in general. And so I thank you. I thank you for that, Terrance.
Yes.
More than you know. I have to now go back and watch so I can hear the rest of that story because it was getting good. It was getting really good. And so I appreciate that. But no, I really want to say thank you for being on the show. That caused us that we got a few minutes left. And I want to just ask a couple other questions and make sure I don't get you out of here without asking these questions. So I've got some fun rapid fire questions for you. Are you ready?
Oh, let me get my drink of water. You about to hit me, huh? All right, let's do it.
All right, favorite food?
Favorite food. Wow, that's changed over time. My favorite food right now, I love tacos. I love me some tacos. Put something between some flatbread and you got me.
Sounds good. What was your favorite before then, growing up?
My favorite, my mama made the best spaghetti on the planet, and I could eat that all day long. And I love eggs. I still love eggs. I can eat eggs for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, or anywhere in between.
Wow. Wow. Um, Favorite movie?
Favorite movie. Oh, wow. The favorite movie, I'm a Marvel fan right now. So anything Marvel, I'll watch. My wife leaves the room because I'll just put them on and just play them one after the other after the other. That's where I am right now. But I used to be a romantic growing up. And so I used to love the romance movies back in the day. There was this movie, the title escapes me, but it was with Robert Redford. And it just blew me away, and I just loved it at that time. I was raised with women, so I'm just a romantic at heart.
All right. Favorite ice cream?
Chocolate. Is there any other?
Right. I say the same thing. Okay, let's see. Favorite place to travel?
So when we got married, we went to this place that I still consider the closest thing to heaven on earth. And it's this tiny island right by the equator called Aruba. Now, let me tell you about Aruba. If you've never been, you gotta go. 84 degrees, 365 days of the year, very low humidity, low trade winds, outside of the hurricane alley, never had a hurricane. So when you get there, it is beautiful. The scenery is beautiful, and more importantly, the people are beautiful. So yes. Aruba, that's the best place.
Aruba's where we went for my honeymoon as well, and I can tell you, it was a wonderful place. And I think we got in the cab to go downtown, and it was sprinkling. It wasn't rain, full on rain, it's sprinkling. And we were like, "Oh, are they calling for rain today?" He was like, "Oh, 5 minutes."
Okay.
It doesn't, yeah, they don't get big rain. They don't get hardly anything. It's like the paradise. It really is like paradise. I really enjoy it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So that, okay. I see you. All right. Favorite song?
Favorite song. The reasons that we're here. The reasons that we feel the way that we feel. That's my favorite song. Earth, Wind, and Fire.
All right. Earth, Wind, and Fire. All right. I hear you.
And not the radio version. It's got to be the live version. Got to have the saxophone. Got to have Phil going up 3 registers. You got to have it.
Got to have it all. Got to have it all. Your favorite hobbies?
I just lost you just like.
Uh-oh. Can you hear me?
Favorite hobby?
Yes.
Because, can you hear me? Mic check. Can you hear me?
I hear you.
Okay, yeah, I got that little quote about my internet. Favorite, dancing. Love to dance.
So dancing is your favorite?
Yes.
Any type of music or any music in particular?
So I'm from Chicago, and Chicago is known as the house music capital of the world. New York is second. Don't even try to claim it. So I am what they call a house head. I can still burn up the floor. I still can get my sweat rag out. I still can do the thing. So that's my favorite thing. But I also love salsa now that I'm down here in South Florida.
Gotcha. So let me ask you this. So I thank you for your time. I ask these rapid fire questions because we never know what we have in common as people. And,
Yes.
I am the firm believer of you meet people at the human level first, we can always find commonalities. If we just start with the differences that are obvious and things of that nature, we'll never get to the commonalities. But
Yes.
movies,
Absolutely.
dancing, just some of those things that we love and are intimate to us, they could be commonalities that someone who looks different, who appears to be different, you can have something in common with them. So I love to do the rapid fire to hear, what those commonalities and differences are and different things. I love to dance too.
You-
I just love to dance, period. I mean, I'm from Georgia. I grew up dancing. We went to the skating ring, and at a certain part of the skating ring, it stopped skating. Everybody got on the on the ring and was dancing. So,
Right, right. You took the shoes off and you just started doing your thing. I got you. I
absolutely,
got you. I feel you.
absolutely.
South Georgia or North Georgia?
Middle Georgia.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
right outside of Macon, right
Okay.
outside of Macon, Georgia. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
Middle
All
Georgia.
right. Southern
Where
bit.
yeah. But you think about Little Richie. You think about Otis Redding and a whole lot of people. They were found from a talent perspective in Macon, Georgia. They used to have
Mm-hmm.
something that was very similar to New York's. What do you call it? It used to come on TV. Right there in Harlem, the Apollo.
Oh, the Apollo.
They had something similar to that in Macon, Georgia, and that's where a lot of people came to get the talent, that African American talent from
Okay.
there. So yeah, so definitely music is a big thing. But I say all of that to say that that's why I ask these questions, because they may seem strange to viewers that are watching. It's like, why are you asking him all that? Has nothing to do. It does, because it shows that Black men, like all other humans,
Mm-hmm.
they like certain things and they do certain things, and you may find some commonalities that you didn't know that you had in common with somebody just by
Absolutely.
simple things.
For real, there's more things that align us
Oh
than
my gosh.
divide us. But we it's so easy to find things to divide because it doesn't take work. It takes work. It takes time. It takes investment to find out what you have in common with the person on the other side of you than it does to take what you don't. And when you take the
Yeah.
time and you invest that time, then you're not investing in somebody for reasons of no gain. You're really
Yeah.
investing in them because they have value and you want to give your value and receive their value as well. So definitely,
Oh, I
I
love it.
wholeheartedly agree with that.
Yeah, I love it. So I want to give you time as we're wrapping up. I want to give you a few minutes to address society, community, individual, whoever it is, with what you have on your heart, things that you may have never been seen or heard for, or things that you have. What's on your heart, Terrance?
Well, what is on my heart recently, and thank you for the opportunity, Sherelle, is as a Black man, there's many of us who feel like our purpose isn't there. It feels like our voice isn't needed, and for many years throughout history, that's been the whole purpose to keep our voice down, to keep us silent, to keep us not standing up for ourselves and speaking out for future generations, what I like to call our legacy. And it's been important for me, especially as we are dealing with one pandemic now, the pandemic that we thought we were all supposed to be dealing with, COVID-19. But then you recognize that we're still dealing with a pandemic that we never resolved, which was 1619. And somebody's going to get that date after the replay is over as well. We continue to find ourselves as Black men in this cyclical position of having to prove ourselves and having to prove our worth, having to prove that we matter, not that we just are here.
Mm-hmm.
400 years ago, we were brought here of not of our choice, but we've learned to adapt. And that's what we do best as Black men. We learn how to not just survive, but we show you that we can thrive. We learn how to take lemons and turn them into lemonade. We learn how to take wheat and we turn it into oatmeal. We learn how to take the scraps from the pig and we turn it into the greatest bacon you'll ever eat. We've learned how to take our obstacles and turn them into opportunities. But the only way we do that is by showcasing what we know how to do with shows like this, where we focus on what you're able to do as opposed to all those things that are stopping you and beating you down. We don't put the focus on the negative, we put the focus on the positive. And what I'm doing, along with some other real men that I have the pleasure of knowing across the nation and even internationally, is we've started a movement called Real Men Speak. Now, we're going to use that word again. Right now, it is predominantly Black men in this movement, but we're not keeping it to just Black men. We're keeping it to real men. And real men come in all different colors and creeds. But we are aligned with the fact of showing that as real men that we support our community. As real men, we speak up for our nation. As real men, we protect our loved ones. As real men, we work collaboratively instead of competitively to create wealth and build legacies. And that's what I'm really passionate about right now, the Real Men Speak movement, where we collaborate with other real men who are aligned in this purpose to show a more positive light about the man, as opposed to the negativity that has been portrayed in media and portrayed in life over the last few decades. So what we do with the Real Men Speak is that we align and we bring together real men from all different colors and creeds, as well as all different backgrounds and industries, to talk about how we can lead ourselves out of this crisis, out of these two crises, this health crisis for us as men, and especially as Black men. We don't take our health seriously. So this is an opportunity to shed light on how you can live healthy, how you can create a healthy lifestyle. So as you come through this pandemic, you'll be aligning yourself so that if another one comes, you'll be better prepared for it because you will have gotten your health in order. But also to teach you the other things that have to go with it, because as we've seen, as your health deteriorates, so does your wealth. You know, if you don't take care of your health, you're not going to be able to provide for your family. But there's also this opportunity to learn different, new, and exciting ways to provide for your family so that you create generational wealth. As Black men, we have been shot and told to stay away. That way you support your family. You know, if you leave the household, then they can get on SSI, they can get on assistance, they can get SNAP because you're not there. Well, not recognizing that if you're there, the ability to work with your hands, the ability to work with your mind to create even more wealth that is generational, that's what we want to do. So that assistance won't be needed from other people, because assistance comes from within. And the only way it can come from within is if everybody is in. You know, we got this statement out, we got this adage out here since COVID-19 happened that we're all in this together. But imagine, Sherelle, if we were all in this together before the pandemic. I say if we were all in this together before the pandemic, then there wouldn't have been a chance for a pandemic to take over. So that's what we want to do. We want to keep people all in even after this is over, so that we're stronger together. You know, there's an African proverb that says that if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go with the team. And that team requires me as a Black man to support and lift up you as a Black woman, and so on and so on and so on. So if you want to be a part of this Real Men Speak movement, you can just simply email me at realmenspeaklive@gmail.com. realmenspeaklive@gmail.com. And let's have a conversation and see how we can collaborate instead of compete, so that all real men can stand up and stand out instead of just existing like we've been structured to do so far.
Mm-hmm. Wow, Terrance. Will the real men please stand up?
Stand
Most
up.
importantly, speak up.
Yes.
Real men speak. I love it. I absolutely love it. And you hit on a lot of things that I talk about a lot about some systemic and systematic oppressions that we're not even aware that have happened so many years ago that are still, holding us down today, especially when we talk about the family unit. Terrance, I have enjoyed with the internet loss and everything. I'm
Yeah.
telling you, I have had a blast.
Well,
Uh, Thank you for being here today.
well, thank you. Thank you for creating this platform. And, I don't use the term queen lightly when I speak to women of elegance like yourself and women of purpose like yourself. The fact that you even thought to put this platform together and all the great things that I hear that you're going to do with this going forward, I salute you. I thank you. The king in your household, I know he is a blessed man because of you, because if you're given to all of us, I know that he's got blessings overflow going on in his house. So I salute you and I thank you for the opportunity that you've given me and that you're giving other Black men across the world to have their voice be shared on your platform. And this is what I always say to people, Sherelle, as I end. You know what? No matter where you are in the world today, don't go out and just make it a great day. Let your voice be heard as a Black man or a real man or a real woman who supports the Black man or a real man. And then together, we can make it an unstoppable day. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Terrance, so much. And thank you, viewers, for being on today through the internet challenges and all. We made it. We made it to the end. This has been the Voices of a Black Man. And we've been honored to listen to Terrance Leftridge today. And I don't know about you, but there's some wisdom that was dropped today. And I hope that you can take it. He told his story through his lens. I hope you have listened. You've heard. He's been seen. Now it's up to you. What you do with it, that's on you. Those actions are on you. We're here tomorrow, same time, 12 p.m., same bat channel. We look forward to seeing you very, very soon. Take care, everyone.